Let's talk about something else that Hollywood keeps pushing, and there are reasons for it, but it's beginning to blow up in their face. And I'm talking about these sort of public domain characters that are being constantly revisited by different studios.
Yeah.
We just had, and revisiting them in the form of an origin story. Now, we just had Pan bomb big time.
Huge bomb.
Only opened to like 15 million. It cost something like 150 million to make, just to make. We're not even talking about like another 100 million to market. So Warner Brothers reportedly looking at between 130 and 150 million dollar write down on this thing. Poor Joe Wright's going to end up in movie jail for a while unless he gets a Marvel gig, in which case he's out. But and that's an origin movie, you know. Everyone's like, how was Hugh Jackman as Captain Hook? I'm like, he wasn't Captain Hook. He's Blackbeard. And they're like, what? So I have to explain that Garrett Hedlund is Captain, yada, yada. So now, you know, they're doing a Kingsman sequel. It's going to start filming in April. They're bringing back Taron Egerton from the first movie. Now, here's why this comes into play. They're pushing the start of the movie where he's going to play Robin Hood, Robin Hood Origins.
Which that title sounds like a joke. Like
Yeah.
it sounds like a mock title because Origins
Sounds like a movie within a movie.
I just think the origins in a title is a word you shouldn't deal with anymore.
It didn't even work for the X-Men. Okay?
Didn't work for the X-Men. And Robin Hood, man, they like to make their freaking Robin Hood
There's so many Robin Hood movies in development right now. We just got in, what was it, 2010 or 2012, the Russell Crowe Robin Hood movie. Big disappointment was Russell Crowe, Ridley Scott, Cate Blanchett, Oscar Isaac, great cast. It stunk. It wasn't good. And the thing was, Ridley just wanted to make another Crusades movie, and then he just tagged Robin Hood on at the end. That movie didn't feel like a Robin Hood movie until like the last 10 minutes. I'm like, I want the whole movie to be like that. And you know, so we have all these different Robin Hood origin movies. It was just reported the other day, Paramount's going to remake the Ten Commandments, okay, because they own the classic original Charlton Heston movie. But Exodus, Gods and Kings just came out last year and commercially didn't really do that good.
Yeah.
So, you know, and for those of you who don't know your Bible, that's the same story. You know, it's the story of Moses. Yes, exactly. Moses. Origins. And now there's also a story in Hollywood Reporter about the Tarzan movie.
Yeah.
Another public domain, old school character that they've already made the movie, and it's David Yates. The guy who did, what, 4 of the Harry Potter, but 3 of them? How many did he?
He did 4.
4 of them. And he's doing Fantastic Beasts. At the same time that Tarzan is in post-production.
Supposed to open next summer.
They kind of need his eyeballs on this.
Yeah.
And he's doing 2 things for Warner's at once with Fantastic Beasts and Tarzan. My question is, Tarzan apparently, according to this report, is not testing well. And can you actually still do a Tarzan movie in the 21st century? I mean, look, I like Tarzan. A lot of kids grew up with that Disney movie, the animated one.
Yeah.
I grew up with Greystoke, which I loved. But I just think in the very politically correct 21st century, doing a post-colonial Tarzan story, kind of a tough thing to pull off.
And there's a lot of things against you doing a live-action Tarzan movie. There's the politics of it, and then there's also the goofiness, I think, and just accepting this guy.
Sort of a sexist thing, too.
This guy in a loincloth, he was raised by apes, as it were. I think it's a hard sell.
Yeah.
And I think it is one of those things with everything we're talking about is the studios, there's such, and we talk about this a lot when we're talking about TV too, but there's such an obsession with name value and like, oh, well, this is pre-sold. At least there's a familiarity with it. But sometimes it doesn't mean there's a excitement for it.
Yeah.
And so, yes, everyone knows who Tarzan is, like the basics, like, oh yeah, the guy swinging around.
In the jungle, yeah.
But does that mean they want to see a Tarzan movie?
I mean, we've seen. I just feel like this is going to be another John Carter.
Me too.
I mean, Edgar Rice Burroughs. I just want to clarify the thing I said about it being sexist. I'm just talking about like the me Tarzan, you Jane, and she's just this prim and proper English woman who's essentially gets stripped down to being almost naked. You know, and so there's just in this day and age, And they have Margot Robbie playing the character.
You can push
so.
against that and you can change that. I don't even think that's the issue. I really think it is.
I mean, Greystoke, they didn't do that.
I think it's just overcoming people's sort of. I think their go-to would be to kind of chuckle at the idea of a modern live-action Tarzan movie. You know.
Yeah.
I will say how
unless it's played like George of the Jungle,
which I was just about to say,
Yeah.
which I freaking love that movie. Super underrated. Never been released on home video in any widescreen format. Get on that, Disney.
I mean, I love the idea of Lone Ranger and
Yeah.
Tonto and all that, but look at that movie. I feel like that and John Carter are your two templates for what this thing could end up being. It's a very pricey, expensive, apparently a lot of visual effects.
Yeah.
And David Yates is sitting there trying to do Fantastic Beasts, the Harry Potter spinoff, for the same studio, and they have, big, complicated post-production process going on. And the producer who would normally be helping handle all this died in July. So they're kind of in a pickle here.
It was funny when the story came up because I was just thinking, I was like, where is Tarzan? Like, I knew because it was shot like a year ago. It's a big Warner Brothers movie
It's
from
got
David Yates.
Sam Jackson and Christoph Waltz in there too.
And so I was like, where is that movie? And then it's like, oh yeah, it's coming in next summer. But yeah, the director's doing something else. And the movies you mentioned, Lone Ranger and John Carter, those movies I think had more of a chance than right now. I feel like more wary of Tarzan because those movies were rejected, but I think you could have sold them in a way that would have worked. Tarzan, again, I think it's a real uphill battle, just overcoming people being like, he's almost naked and he's swinging around on a vine.
Unless they're going to make it like it's like super hot and heavy.
I guess.
But even just make it like 50 Shades of
50 Vines
Jungle.
of Grey.
50 Vines of Grey,
Yes. Although the people think you're just using the Vine app,
Me, Tarzan, you, Christian. Well, no, actually it'd be me, Christian Grey, you, Jane. But,
Yes.
but yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just curious, between all these kind of old school properties, why does Hollywood continue to revisit older properties where a lot of them are of their time?
Yeah, I just think there's that you can't, it's hard to overcome their mentality of name value, pre-sold, and that familiarity means that you have a step up. I think that they overthink and they have expectations for what people having a familiarity with means they'll go buy a ticket.
I mean,
because everyone knows who Robin Hood and Tarzan are, but I just think that they have this assumption that means that they will then want to buy a ticket for that over something they don't know the name of.
Even Peter Pan. Let's analyze how and why Pan went wrong a little bit. I mean, had Hugh Jackman and a good cast, classy director.
Yeah.
If you were a Warner Brothers executive and you were looking at what Disney was pulling down on Cinderella, Maleficent, Alice in Wonderland, of course you would greenlight that movie. But, I don't think they actually looked at what made those movies click commercially, which was appeal to female audiences. And Peter Pan, I mean, frankly, Peter Pan is, to me, the least interesting character in the Peter Pan stuff. You kind of like Captain Hook because he's the bad guy, and Smee because he's goofy, and then kind of the other kids because they're like you, and you're getting taken away to this place, and I feel like the studios doing sort of like Robin Hood Origins and Tarzan and all that, like, well, it is the same studio with Pan and Tarzan.
Yeah.
Like, just because you know that name doesn't mean that you're going to recapture it. It seems like they are trying to trade on the Disney thing.
I think
because they have a Jungle Book Origins movie as well.
Yeah, we have competing Jungle Book movies happening too, and it's hard to out Disney, man. It's like they know what they're doing in a lot of ways. I mean, I think the Alice in Wonderland movie is abysmal, and yet look what a success it was as far as just knowing the reach of them.
Yep.
I don't know, and Pan, there's been a million versions of Pan. People knew this was not the Disney version. And I just don't think there was interest.
Although I feel like a lot of people didn't know it wasn't the I saw a lot of comments of people like, why is Disney remaking this? Boy, they're really screwing up. And it's like, no, they didn't do it. They wanted you to think it was the Disney thing.
I do want to throw in, though, love, was it 2003? Whatever the version of Peter Pan.
Oh, P.J. Hogan's.
The Jason Isaacs plays Hook
Captain
in.
Hook, yeah.
Love that movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
All right, I got to sound like a real wet blanket here. I hated Hook. I hated it when it came out.
The Spielberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either.
Yeah, and I watched it again after Robin Williams passed.
That
I'm sorry. You
brings out the knives and the hooks if you were a little kid when that movie opened. I know
that
there's
was just
serious nostalgia for that movie.
No,
But I don't. I'm not a fan of that film either. But the Peter Pan movie with Jason Isaacs, check it out.
Well, it'll be curious to see which one of these kind of old school properties actually can find its footing, because if they do and they make money, then they'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.